Greetings to you all out there. You are welcome to Achievers Bridge Show. Today we are going to be talking about a very important issue. As we all know that part of Achievers Bridge mandate is to see how we can be able to move entrepreneurs from all the important things that they need to skip away from that prevents people from reaching their dreamland, or things that prevent people from reaching success. And we all know we have a lot of factors that contributes to success, to which if a person neglects, then will land in the land of failure. So today we are going to be talking about pressure, and we are going to pay attention to 3 important key points in such a way that a person can be able to overcome pressure. So the topic or the title of our discussion today is how to overcome pressure. Now let's go down deep into what pressure is. Pressure simply means a contrasting force. Then what do I mean by contrasting force? In this context of today, pressure comes in different ways, and we are going to expose out all the important ways in which pressure attacks a person. For instance, a person may be under pressure of getting married. Another person may be under pressure of starting a business. Another person may be under pressure of starting his master's degree or PhD degree. Some may be under pressure of going to their undergraduate degree programs. We all know that pressure comes in a negative way. Pressure is something that comes in a contrasting way to a person, thereby shifting away a person from his initial or a proposed plan. For instance, you may be having a plan of starting up a business. Then you suddenly see your classmate or your former classmate per se doing his master's or running his PhD degree, and then you fall into one kind of mentality that, oh my goodness, so this person have started his master's while I'm here thinking of business and knowing fully well that business takes quite a while in some instances to be able to establish. Then you fall into pressure of wanting to leave what you're doing and going to doing, to do master's or PhD or sort of a stuff like that. Or you may be trying to work on your dream, and then you see a colleague of yours or a friend of yours now planning to get married, and you just suddenly fall into pressure of wanting to get married because you want to be like him or you want to be on the same pace with him. Are we getting what pressure means so far on this context? Now, pressure can also mean, okay, if you are placed under a particular pressure, or let me use this word, maybe there's a job expected from you to get done, or you are expected to get done a particular job, and then you have a very short deadline and you are trying to work on a particular stuff. You get under a particular pressure. That also is another category of pressure, but the category of pressure we are looking at today is a pressure that pushes a person into doing what he or she intended not to do as at that particular time, based on his plan or initial plan. Pressure does not only put someone under a tense situation, but pressure can push a person to go and give up on his dreams, which is a very terrible situation. Part of our discussion today is to address the problems that pressure comes with. So if a person understands how pressure works, then a person can be able to devise out means of settling those problems that comes with it. Or if you don't know how to settle those problems, thank God to Achievers Bridge have come up with these particular strategies of overcoming pressure. By now, I believe you understand what pressure means. Before we go into the important points we are going to be looking at in order to overcome pressure, I want you to get one thing. One of the things that leads to pressure is jealousy. Feeling, okay, this person have gone this far, so oh my goodness, I need to have gone to that place too. Jealousy is a very dangerous disease, and it leads people to a lot of failures in life. If you see a person next to you doing something, please pay as little attention you can to that, and then focus more on what your plans are. And if possible, try to be happy for others while they're achieving their dreams. That's by the way. Now we are going to be talking on 3 important points that will help us to be able to overcome pressure. The number 1 point is staying on track. And the second point is designing out a footstep. Then the third point is which is the last point for today, mining up value. Mining up value. Now, looking at the first step, staying on track. What do we mean by staying on track? Before you can talk of staying on track, you need to be able to have a destination from the first place, because you can't be taking off track without a destination. Now, what we mean by track in this essence is a line or a roadmap that will lead you to a particular destination. For instance, if you want to go to your school, for instance, that road or that path that will take you from your home to your school is what we mean by track. Now, staying on track simply means you following that right channel or you following that right path that will lead you to that desired destination you want to go. Now, how can missing a track lead someone to pressure, for instance? Okay, let's imagine you are going to travel to a particular village A, for instance. Now, for you to be able to overcome pressure in that aspect, you need to be on a particular track that will lead you to that village. If you miss a track, you may fall into a bush, and then before you realize that you have missed a track, you must have gone kilometers into the bush, and then you now look for a way to fall back to where initially you missed the track again, and then you keep on going, and then maybe along the line you miss a track again, then you go into another bush, and then you realize that, oh my God, I'm not in the place I'm supposed to be going, I'm not on track, I fall back again, all sort of things like that will now delay your movement because you missed the track. If you are supposed to spend 1 hour to reach that village, you may end up wasting 5 hours without even reaching the village because you missed the track. And from there, you now begin to feel some sort of pressure deep within. Oh my God, I was supposed to have reached this village. Some people said reaching this village just takes an hour, and then now I've consumed almost 5 hours and I've not reached the village. Some sort of feelings will begin to come up into your mind, and then before you know it, you begin to like, okay, so I don't think I'm going to embark on this journey again, so I'm giving up on this journey. Can you see what missing a track can give to a person? And then can we see how being on track can help a person overcome a pressure? Now let's assume you didn't miss a track, and then you are just going on track straight and moving, and then you just reach that particular village you are heading to. You'll be having no pressure to face from the first place because you didn't miss any track, and then you are right there on time. In fact, you will not even have that time to be looking around and be like, okay, so this person did great, I didn't do great. You would be having that time to do that. Recently, we were supposed to go to a friend's place in Kaduna, and then we have never been to the place before, but the place was just described to us, and we literally knew the house based on the description. But as we were going on, we deviated a little bit, and before we knew it, we saw ourselves in another line, which was almost like 20 buildings away from the house. Wow, so we have left the street already, so what are we supposed to do? Let's fall back to the initial point we missed the track. When we fall back to that point, we now decided to go back to the description that was given to us. To our surprise, the house was just 2 buildings away from where we missed the track. So imagine if we had a timeline of reaching to that place, or if we had set a particular time of reaching to that place, and then we missed the track and then ended up in another street. Imagine the kind of pressure that will come up in us. Imagine how stressless our life would have become, if we had fall on the right track and then didn't miss the track of going into another place again. Imagine the fuel we consumed. Imagine the time we wasted. And the fuel we consumed, the time we wasted is enough, to tense up pressure within us that, reaching that house shouldn't have taken us this long. We shouldn't have consumed this amount of fuel. Do we get the point now? Fine and good. Let's now migrate this to real life. Being on track simply means following those channels that will take you to your destination. Let's assume you want to be a medical doctor, for instance. You need to start off from primary school, then from there you move to secondary school, you move to the university, studying medicine and surgery in the university. Or what if you want to become an engineer? You start from your primary school, secondary school, and then going to a university degree. Or if you want to become a business person, you fall on the right track. What are the steps that a business person needs to take? Starting from the knowledge aspect of it, going down to taking an action, setting up plans and stuff like that. Believe me, if you miss this, then you are going to have a whole lot of tension that will be coming up in your mind. Okay, I was supposed to really start working on this business. This business could have reached this stage by this time around. This is 5 years now I'm into this business, and I've not gotten a significant, improvement or significant progress. You see all those kind of pressure that will come up in you, especially when you see a friend of yours, making a very good cash. Maybe he's already building a house, and then you see you working tirelessly on your business, but you are missing a track here and there, and then before you know it, you have stayed for 15 to 20 years and there's nothing to show. Are we getting the point? So staying on track is very, 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 very important. Okay, so staying on track can mean something like going to study books. First of all, it starts with knowing where your dream is, knowing your destination, as we have said earlier. Know your destination. If your destination is, I want to be the biggest bag producer in Africa, then you know where you're heading to. Then the next thing that should come to your mind, okay, what are the right tracks? What is the right channel that I will start following in order to land in that place? That is where things like, okay, how does a bag production industry operate? What does it take to register a company or an industry in that particular location you want to start that production processes? What are the expertise in which I will need people to be employed to come and play their role in that place? What of marketing aspect? The whole lot of planning processes comes in. Being on track. And one very important point, you want to set up an industry that will be manufacturing bags. You can't afford to go and waste a whole lot of time, trying to study how to make a hair, how to make a barbing salon. That is what we call a missing track, man. You can't afford to do that. You need to understand what, all the processes that you need to take in order to land where you're heading to. You need to be on track, man. You can't afford to miss your track. Now, this takes us to the second point, designing a footstep. That's the second point we are going to look at, designing a footstep. Now, after you have gotten your destination, or after you have known your destination, your destination should be something you built in your mind, Okay, so after you have known where you're heading to, and then you have known your footstep, your tracks, then you now design a footstep. What do you mean by footstep? Now, breaking down that track into steps. Let's look at that bag production industry, for instance. Let's say you want to start producing bags in Africa. You need to break down the steps, because you can't just jump overnight and say, okay, so let me go and start producing the bags. The bags need to be produced. We are taking this, but it doesn't happen that way, because there need to be steps upon steps that you need to follow, and those steps you can't start at random. You need to start from this beginning. Okay, so now it's something like this, but before we go to that bag manufacturing industry, let me start from something that we understand before we now shift to that. Maybe your mind will pick it very easily. Now, let's fall back on wanting to become an engineer, for instance. Breaking down your footstep, the track is you going to school and then studying through all these right channels up to the time that you become an engineer. But first of all, you have some footsteps you need to pay attention to. And then you break it down. You start by what? By going to nursery school. Then from there, you now move to what? You move to primary school. Then after primary school, you now move to secondary school. That's the junior secondary school. And then you now move to senior secondary school. Then from there, you go to the university that offer that particular course. And this differs, from country to country. This is the point I'm trying to make here. You arrange these footsteps, step upon steps. So if you want to become an engineer, for instance, you can start by going to a secondary school before you now go to primary school. Then it doesn't happen that way. And you can't start by going to the university first before you now go to the secondary school. No, it doesn't happen that way. If you find yourself doing that, then you are missing a track. You are missing the arrangement of the footsteps that will take you there. Please, let's take our time to understand this. Now let's shift it to that bag manufacturing industry, for instance. You first of all, your footstep for that now, after getting the right track of how you want to reach there, then the footsteps you're going to break it down into is, it starts with what? Studying how bag production operates. understanding the kind of fabrics that is needed when producing bags. That starts with studies. Then understanding how industries work. You start reading, you start learning about it online. There are a whole lot of materials online. You can go to YouTube, you can search for materials, books, textbooks, all these textile, materials. You can be able to go and study about them. Then from there, you now go and look at, okay, so how does it, what does it take to register a company? Because you can't operate, if you want to operate on a bigger, on a global company, you can't just operate without having it registered with the necessary government authorities. So you now move on to learning how to register it. Then from there, you now read about the machines that are used. Then you start surveying on the location you want to do that. And then from there, you move on, going to look for the machines that will, you will start up with. Of course, having understand the financial need for that business, and then strategizing on the kind of technical skills you will need, and then the kind of employees you will need to employ, and a whole lot of things like that. And it moves on, and then down to what? The procurement of the machines, and then procurement of the land or renting of the place you want to use for that industry or manufacturing industry per se, and then employing the necessary skills, or maybe placing advert, doing interview, and then employing staff, and then pilot production. There's something we call piloting. Piloting means you start the production. In this case now, you start the production, pilot production, to see how the machine operates, to see how the final product is going to be. Are the bags going to be so nice? Are they going to be attractive? Are they going to be something that any other person would love to have? Then from there, you now look at it, and then after you do your analysis, then you now start market survey. The process continues like that up to the time you will start market production, like mass producing for market supply. In this case, you arrange those footsteps accordingly. You can start with production, for instance, without registering the business, and you can start by maybe supply, because you can't supply without producing. So you need to follow just the way you can't start with the secondary school before coming to a primary school. If you want to become an engineer, then that something happens in the business world. People are getting this all wrong. You will see a person that, okay, I want to become. This applies to any area of field. This applies to any career. You will see a person be like, oh my God, I want to become a greatest musician in this part of the world. I want to be a big musician in the world. But you don't even, take the necessary steps. You don't even know your track. You don't even know where to start from. And even if you know the paths that have been taken, you don't know how to break it down. Or you will see a person, will be like, okay, he wants to be a music star, and then boom, he started producing album, boom, he started recording all sort of nonsense. I'm sorry to use that word, but this is the moment of truth. So I need to speak on the real truth so that we will all adjust and learn from this. You need to have mentors. If you want to go to the music industry, for instance, you need to have some people you look up to. You can't just start from nowhere and then you think you can be able to reach somewhere. It doesn't happen that way. After you have seen some mentors that you're going to look up to, then you study their lifestyle, study their biography, how they started. Then from there you start your own mini research about some of the things you will need, and then as you're preparing, you are working on some of the things you will need. Before you know it, you are progressing towards what you want to become. You can't just become what you want to become in a day, but it's a matter of breaking it down into steps. You break it down into what you can be able to do today. Okay, today I'm going to do this. Next week, you break it down. If you want to set up your plan for a year, then you break it down. Okay, in January, February, March, April, and then to the end of the year. And then in that month again, in that January again, you now break it down into weeks. And into that weeks again, you break it down into days, specifying out clearly what you want to achieve for that given period of time. That's the only way you can grow. Or is it that you want to become the biggest businessman, in the world, for instance? You need to start from planning. You need to start from understanding the kind of business you want to go into. Then you know the need for that business, because if there is no need for that business you are going into, then you are going to waste a whole lot of energy, time, and resources. So the first thing we said when you want to overcome pressure, you first of all need to stay on track. And of course, you need to know your destination before you talk about track. Then after you have stayed on track, then you break it down into footsteps. Now, this is the importance of footsteps in overcoming pressure. If you want to become a music star, for instance, you will have this whole lot of pressure. You want to make a lot of money as a music star, seeing how other music stars are making money, you just be like, I want to make money. Especially if you have a friend of yours that is into business, and then maybe he's working in the UK, and then he's making a very good money, and then you feel like, oh my God, what the hell is this? I need to have started making money. I need to have my own Lamborghini. And before you know it, you start to get distracted because you don't even know the steps you need to take. Then what if you have your footsteps, you have drafted down into steps? As you are starting this footstep, your friends are buying lands, are buying houses. You'll be like, oh, good, I'm happy for you guys. But you will not be moved by that because the step you are taking, you are already in your timeline. This step is what I've designed for myself. So I don't need to pay attention to all the distractions on my own side. I know I'm in my own timing. So you will not feel any pressure. You will know that you are moving in your steps according to how you designed it in your own plan. But if you don't have those footsteps, I tell you this, you are going to fall under pressure very easily. So that's that about designing a footstep. Then the last point we are going to be talking about when it comes to overcoming pressure is mining up value. Mining up value. Now, this thing disturbs me a lot. You will see a lot of people saying, oh, this life is turn by turn. Our own turn is coming. This life is, this person, is looking down on us. So our own turn is coming. My brother, my sister, life doesn't come turn by turn. If you don't stand up to see what you can be able to see, the life cannot stand up and dance to your own tune. Okay? So there's one particular sentence Madonna said in her lyrics. You only see what you rise on to see. How can life be what you want it to be? I really love that statement. Life can never be what you want it to be because you can only rise to what life is, but you can't expect life to shift to your own position or to lower down to your own position. Sometimes what life gives back at us, and then we begin to feel like, okay, so this one life is unfair, this person is succeeding and I'm not succeeding. God have given you all the knowledge, God have given you the brain, God have given you your hands, God have given you your eyes, your ears and everything, just the way the other person have it. And then all it's expected from you is to stand up and start taking a step into what? Building value upon yourself. Because people will never value what doesn't have value. And let me tell you this truth. Whatever life brings back at you, you deserve it. If you see yourself a poor person, you deserve it. There's no two ways about it. If you are rich, you attracted that riches. If you are wealthy, you attracted that wealth. If you are influential, you built that influence, because these things doesn't come from nowhere. They are attracted to what you have deep inside of you. Now, when we say mining up value, we mean building value upon yourself. If you don't have value deep inside of you, nobody is going to pay attention to you. Nobody is going to pay attention to you. And you know what? If people don't pay attention to you, then you are not going to be successful, because there's never a success where people don't like what you do. You're only successful if people like what you're doing. So, how can somebody mine up value? Someone may be asking this out there. How can I mine up value now? Okay, I want to be a musician. How can I mine up value? You have a lot of knowledge you can be able to tap in the universe today. And thank God is at the tips of your hands. If you just go into your mobile phone, you have the internet right there with you. Start by studying. You can't just have an excuse. Okay, I don't have money, I don't have an Android phone. See, I was telling a friend, if you don't have money to buy the kind of books you need, at least you can have an Android phone to browse and study about it. If you don't have an Android phone, at least you will know a person, at least one person that have an Android phone. When you learn all these things, or when you try to study about your dreams or where you want to go, your brain will not say, okay, this one that you borrowed a phone to be able to know these things or these things. And it doesn't happen that way. If you cannot afford a phone, you know someone. I am pretty sure you know someone that has a phone. And you can be able to borrow the person's phone and then browse through it and go through it. Or maybe you have the capacity to be able to produce, but you don't have the money that it takes for you to be able to go and make an album with Wizkid or Davido, or maybe make an album with J Wills, or with whichever the artist you are trying to picture in your mind. That doesn't mean you cannot be able to start marketing your music, your product online. Thank God you have Facebook, you have WhatsApp, you have all sorts of social media that you can be able to market your product. So all these things I'm telling you is adding up value to yourself. Try to learn marketing, try to learn content creation, try to learn music production, try to learn video edition. All of those things that is in line with your dreams, all the things that is in line with where you want to go in life, try to embed it deep inside of you. And you can only do that by adding it to what you know. You can start by exercising your hands. Try to use your hands to know that skills. For painting, for instance, if you study them in books, for instance, you go to school, you learn it, you need to also use your hands to practice it, add value to yourself. You should mine up value to yourself. If you teach people, for instance, try to go and learn about public speaking. These things are very, 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 very important. And don't get misunderstood by this. When you try to teach people, when you teach people, you understand more what you studied, but that is not mining up value. That is dispensing of value to people. So it means if you really want to grow, if you really want to reach a certain level in your life, you need to have some quiet time where you sit down in your room, or you sit down in your reading space and then carry that book, go through it, study it, open that video, watch it, learn what is in there for you. At least by all means on daily basis, you should make sure you are learning something to what you know. Believe you me, if you keep that routine for just a year, you will be shocked at what you will become. And then imagine you keep doing that for a lifetime, then you are going to reach that maximum peak of that dream you have been dreaming. And now, let me capture your attention a little bit. This life is focused more on, money. Money is very important. But let me tell you this, money don't just come like that. Now, let me give you a scenario where all these lot of things can come in and then help your life. Imagine you are a musician, for instance, or you want to go into music. By the time you have built up value upon yourself, and then people are beginning to like your music, people are beginning to get obsessed with your content. Before you know it, you will see everybody will be like, wow, I want to get Mr. A's music, so I want to go and download his music. Before you know it, you can monetize that music. You can just, okay, I'm going to hold the concert. You just make an advert that the ticket to attend that concert is $100. Everybody that is obsessed with your music will be willing to pay that amount. Can you see the money you're looking for? And then if that money comes to you, can you see how you are going to be exempted from the effect of pressure? In the whole essence, when you add up value to yourself, you are trying to build that empire you are dreaming for yourself. And in the process of doing that, all the pressure that will come by the side, somebody doing his PhD, or somebody opening his business, a friend of mine, owning a car, having a house, all these things will not freak you anymore. You will all be focused on where you are going, and then you will all be focused on the impact you are trying to make, and you will all be focused on how you want to change the world, to dance to your own tune, and then make the whole world a better place, which is actually a mandate for us at Achievers Bridge. We just always think of how we want to make the world a better place, and this is where we are trying to mine up our own value. We try to add value to ourselves, and then see how we can be able to help the generations and the ones to come, and then see how we can be able to create an enabling environment for them to be able to bring out those talents and skills and those things that they have within, mining up value. So if you can pay attention to these three things, then believe you me, you can overcome pressure at ease. We will keep on giving you important contents on how you can be able to do that, and we believe this can be able to propel you to your dreamland, because we can't afford to have you guys to fall into the trap of pressure, because pressure can make you to lose your dreams. Pressure can make you to give up in this life. Because if you keep on focusing who bought a car, who bought a house, who got married, this one is having a child already, this one, oh my God, this one is in Dubai, you are going to get yourself crazy. So that is all we have for you for today. And if today is the first time you are on this channel, please consider subscribing, and we will give you important content that will guide you towards your career in life. Thank you for following up on this show, and then thank you for watching to the end. We love you. We love you. We love you. If you are new here, click on the subscribe button below and turn on the notification bell so that anytime a new video is uploaded on this YouTube channel, you will be notified.